Welcome to Board Gems. Quick little side-by-slide comparison of the 2006 Reiner Knizia two-player game Times Square, also known as Royal Visit. Here are the two versions. On the left is the English version of the original German Auf der Reeperbahn from the Kosmos two-player line that came out in 2006. And on the right, 2021's Royal Visit from French publisher Iello. Not many games nowadays are in Kosmos's two-player, extra thin box format. Royal Visits is a little bit thicker, and that's normal these days. The back shows a really kind of strange render of the game. I guess it was 2006, maybe renders weren't all that great quality yet, I don't know. It shows the components in what could be a game state, and a little blurb trying to entice you. The blurb in Royal Visit is very small, as is more common nowadays. It shows a little flow chart of some of the things you do, with the final step being, of course, win. Don't forget that step. Times Square's rulebook is a trifold, which is a little bit awkward to read. The brevity makes it seem clear, but I've had to read it a few times to understand what's going on, and in the end I actually needed to look at Royal Visit's updated rulebook to explain some edge cases. Royal Visit's rulebook is longer, which will make it look more complicated, but it is clearer. It goes into more detail, and on the back has a little reminder of how everything works. Always appreciated. Inside the boxes, so Times Square on the left has a plastic insert with a custom well for the cards and two generic wells for the large wooden components, and the board is nestled into a space on top. Royal Visit also has custom spaces for everything. Sometimes when you're putting it away, you might get confused as to which piece goes where. Little space for the coin, which replaces Champagne Charlie. And it has one of those little ridges underneath, so if you push down on one side, it pops the other side out. Now look at the bottom. Yes, it's a cloth board. The only things that go on the board are wooden pieces, so a roll-up board works completely fine. In practice, it ends up being a tiny bit smaller than the original. It does have icons to show where pieces start. The new board, playmat, whatever, is busy, and that's reflected in the card art too, which we'll see shortly. Here are the wooden pieces. The theming to a sort of royal court works pretty well. In the original, if you're new to the game, it can be a little bit hard to remember how Dancing Deb is different from Handsome Hal or whatever. Each of the pawns has their own special thing, and it can be hard to remember them. And one nice thing they did in Royal Visit was, I feel like they tied the theme pretty well to the characters. The importance of the king, of course, needing the guards, but for example, the red pawn, Dancing Deb, in certain situations, her cards can be used as wiles. So that makes sense to map that to be a jester, a joker. And Handsome Hal can kind of teleport people to his space. While that sounds like wizard magic to me, the theming in the original works fine, although that champagne bottle with the top hat on top is given a name, Champagne Charlie, and it doesn't really look like a person. Why did you name him? The coin works just fine. In fact, the coin is actually double-sided. The game will end if you go through the deck twice and nobody has won up to that time. So instead of having to remember that how many times have we gone through this deck, once or none? In case people have a hard time remembering that, the coin is double-sided and you can flip it to show a tiny crown to represent that you've already gone through the deck one time. Finally, the cards. I find Royal Visit's cards to be super busy. I try not to even look at the artwork. You could say that the artwork in the original is quite plain, but also the artwork doesn't matter. They just have to stand out from each other, which I find the old cards do that. The one nice thing in the new edition is that the king shows a little bit of extra info on the card to remind the player of what you can do if you play two king cards. That's it. I said it would be a quick one. Thanks for watching. Older games like Times Square and Royal Visit don't necessarily stop being good if they were good, just because newer games come out. Take care.